I learned early on that being silent made life easier in that household. If I stayed quiet enough, they barely remembered I was there. For 3 years, I ate dinner across from my wife's sister, Vanessa, while she dominated every conversation. She bragged about her business ventures, her exclusive contacts, her extravagant vacations paid for by whichever man she was seeing that month. Emma, my wife, hung on her every word, laughing too loudly, defending every sly jab Vanessa tossed in my direction. "He's a sweetheart, but come on, he works in logistics," she once said with a smirk. How thrilling can that be? I never corrected her. I never told her what kind of logistics I handled. I didn't explain why I would vanish for weeks or why my phone was locked down with security protocols she couldn't bypass. I didn't mention why a single message could make me leave the table without a word. I had loved Emma deeply, enough to let her believe I was ordinary, harmless, unremarkable. That was my mistake. And the second mistake was assuming she loved me for who I really was, not for the non-threatening version she'd built in her head. The shift began subtly. She changed our shared bank password without telling me. She angled her phone away when she texted. There were new scents clinging to her clothes after nights out with Vanessa, perfumes I'd never smelled on her before. Then came the weekend. I returned from an assignment ahead of schedule. I walked into our living room and found Emma and Vanessa surrounded by glossy brochures, real estate listings, all in Vanessa's name, down payments from accounts I'd never heard about. Emma's voice was bright, almost giddy. "Once the divorce goes through, we'll have everything we need. He won't fight. He never fights." Vanessa laughed like she'd just been handed a gift. "Emma, that's brutal." I'm impressed. I stood in the doorway, duffel bag still in my hand, watching my wife calmly carve my life apart on paper. I didn't say a thing. I went to the bedroom, unpacked, and slept. I've never been one for dramatics. I prepare. 2 weeks later, she filed. I signed without protest, exactly as she expected. I agreed to mediation. I pretended to be the clueless husband who didn't understand finances, who trusted the lawyers to handle everything. Her attorney tore into me. My own representation appeared barely competent. What she never knew was that everything she believed she was taking had already been moved long before. The day she changed that first password, I began restructuring my world. Assets she didn't know existed had been relocated. Accounts placed in regions she had no jurisdiction over. Investments she never imagined. Military allowances, hazard pay, overseas consulting income. None of it on record for her discovery. All legal. All mine. I let her think she'd already won. Let her and Vanessa toast their victory with champagne. I heard them through the walls. And then I waited. 6 weeks later, Emma insisted on a closure dinner with both families present. She wanted witnesses. She wanted an audience for her triumph, her escape from the man she believed was beneath her. Vanessa wore a blazing red dress. Emma wore jewelry I knew I'd never purchased. They toasted loudly to fresh starts. Her father gave me a sympathetic pat on the back. Her mother couldn't look at me. I checked the time. When the door opened, every head turned. Captain Marcus Webb entered in full dress uniform, medals shining under the lights. He surveyed the room, spotted me, and walked over with firm, deliberate strides. Conversations died mid-sentence. He stopped at our table, stood at attention, and saluted sharply. "Colonel Hartley," he said clearly. "Sir, I'm sorry to interrupt, but the Joint Chiefs have moved the briefing up. They need you immediately." The room fell silent. Emma's fork slipped from her hand. I rose, returning the salute. "At ease, Captain. I'll be there shortly. Transport is waiting outside, sir." He nodded respectfully to the table and stepped back. Emma stared at me, face pale. "You're a colonel?" "Lieutenant colonel," I replied calmly. "Promoted last year." I glanced at my watch. "I told you, I work in logistics, just not the kind you assumed." Her father inhaled sharply as the realization sank in. Her mother looked like she might faint. Vanessa finally found her voice, sharp and high-pitched. "Why didn't you ever tell us?" "Because none of you ever cared to ask." I answered. You made assumptions. There's a difference. I turned to Emma. The settlement you celebrated, it was calculated on the income and assets you thought existed, not the real ones. Her hand shook. What are you saying? I'm saying your lawyer negotiated a share of zero. I'm saying the life you imagined building with money you believed was mine was based on fiction. You traded loyalty for your sister's approval. I set my napkin neatly on the table. I have to go. National security doesn't wait. Outside, Marcus stood by the vehicle, trying and failing to hide a grin. That was cold, sir, he said as he opened the door. She asked for honesty. I replied. I delivered. As we drove away, I didn't glance back. Some people think silence means weakness. I know better. Silence is preparation, and preparation always wins.